80 and 9700 Alberta Road from the small-scale multi-unit housing zone to a medium-density zone. And we've got Kevin and Josh. Okay, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll turn things over to Mr. Ang to give the presentation.
I am going to get you, I'll keep both, come on. Both might survive. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have anything further to add to the report, but welcome the opportunity to provide the following project highlights to committee. This project is for a 29 townhouse units on a land assembly involving 4 single-family lots. A single vehicle access is provided along Alberta Road on the east portion of the development site. This location has been coordinated to ensure alignment with a separate existing townhouse driveway development on the north side of Alberta Road. And it also ensures adequate separation distance to a new pedestrian crossing that this redevelopment project will complete. In terms of existing trees, one tree is being retained at the southeast corner of the subject site as part of this redevelopment. Trees on neighboring sites to the south on the Richmond School District lands will also be retained and not impacted by the proposed development. A conceptual landscape plan has been provided to demonstrate that the proposed redevelopment can accommodate 53 replacement trees. Finally, a servicing agreement is also required for this rezoning application, which will require frontage upgrades, add a new pedestrian crosswalk across Alberta Road, as mentioned earlier, and also provides for applicable servicing infrastructure works required for this redevelopment. Happy to answer any questions of committee.
I just have one question, if I may. On page 10, when you talk about 29 units in the story, I have no problem with the development. It looks good. It's a good development. We never list in anything with the potentiality of the number of people that may live there, what the population growth would be. Is there something we can do that as we go on to development, especially when we get 200 units or, for example, across the way here, the number of units, I think it came back with how many people might be in those towers across the way. And I think something maybe can be in the report because the infrastructures have to go accordingly as well. It's just something I personally looked at. We always forget about the population. We always look at the units. Oh, God, we got 29 units. Yeah, is that 100 people coming or is that 29 people, you know, so to speak? So I just throw that under advisement. Maybe we can include that. Projection, the maximum number of people that you could do. Carol, you're on.
Thank you very much. I'm looking at the map on page 17, it's an aerial map there. And I believe that's Anderson School that's located to the south. Is that correct?
Through the chair, in response to Councillor Day, the school that's immediately to the south, I believe, is McNeil Secondary. The one that's situated to the west in that complex is Anderson Elementary.
Okay, good. Well, the reason I point this out is that in the past, there was another development whereby we required that the dog leg, which you can see there on the map, was given to the school. Was there any need for that to happen in this case?
Through the chair, in response to Councillor Day, no, there were no further land acquisitions required for the purposes of the school.
Okay, that's great. And then if we look at the drawing of the roadway on page 19, it shows that it will be connected to one complex, I guess, to the east, I think. And I'm just curious why it's not also connected to the complex to the west.
Through the chair, in response to Councillor Day, the access configuration was reviewed by transportation, as well as the potential for connecting the driveways to existing complexes, both to the east and west that had already redeveloped. It was determined that each one of these development sites could be granted their individual access out to Alberta Road without the need to have them connected in any way, shape, or form.
So while it looks like it would be open to the next one, it's not. It's actually a dead end.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Andy?
Thanks, and through the chair. Thank you for the report, and pretty comprehensive. Some pretty significant contributions as well to different reserves, so that's good to see. The question I have is just about the small multi-unit housing, the bills that were passed recently by the government. And I understand there's 29 units going in here, and if you did the math for the 4 lots, you'd come out to a slightly lower number, I think. So I'm just curious, like, the report's good, the development is good, but I'm just curious, are we getting much uptake on the small housing units? Because I noticed, like, in this one, it's not happening, and there's probably an economic reason for that.
Through the chair to Councillor Hobbs, I'm not sure if my colleague in building approvals is here, but I don't know if James is able to provide an update in terms of how many new small-scale multi-unit housing units we have. But what I will also add at the same time, yes, there are 4 lots that are proposed as part of this assembly. A maximum of 16 units, 4 on each lot, would be permitted under existing small-scale multi-unit housing zones. The proposed form of development in this case is a townhouse form. This is a known form within the general community, but I'll let Jamie speak to current uptake.
Okay.
Mr. Cooper, welcome.
Thank you very much, Chair. To the Chair, there have been, as of about 3 weeks ago, 32 applications either in process or issued for the small-scale multi-unit housing.
Okay,
Thanks.
we all right with that? Okay, seeing no further, oh, hang on, one more, okay. Cash?
The complex that the Sian Group is proposing here, this is their style of building and has been for about the last decade in Richmond, is that correct? So it's almost like a cookie cutter approach based on what they have been doing over the years?
Through the chair to Councillor Heed, I don't know that I would refer to it specifically as a cookie cutter approach, but certainly a townhouse form is quite common with this
This, yeah,
developer. Yeah.
okay.
Okay, all right, the motion is first, second, and third has been moved, seconded. Any further discussion on this one? All those in favor, contrary, carried. Thank you very much. Okay, item number 2 is early council review process in the official community plan and amendment and rezoning the application as at 131-31, 111-031, and 12-931, and 12-77-1, number 2 road. And the application is to consider concurrent rezoning of the application. Staff work with the applicant to consider comments provided by council as part of the comprehensive. And we'll go with Mr. Ng and Mr. Reese, and then open it for questions. Go ahead.
Thank you once again. I'd like to take the opportunity to touch upon a few items related to this report before committee this afternoon. The proposed commercial and residential mixed-use development submitted for the rezoning application requires an amendment to the official community plan from industrial to a mixed-use designation. The staff is recommending to be processed concurrently with the submitted rezoning application. In accordance with Council's direction in September of 2024, for rezoning applications that involve a major amendment to the OCP, the report before you this afternoon is to seek early input from Council specifically on 2 matters. Number 1, the OCP and proposed amendments arising from the rezoning application. And number 2, comments on the proposed mix of commercial and residential uses and the overall development concept presented for the project to date. Staff note that the step of providing input from Council on the proposed OCP amendment and conceptual development plans early in the rezoning process is new, and that staff will work with the applicant to consider comments and feedback received from Council as part of the comprehensive rezoning review process. A summary of the proposed redevelopment is provided in the report, but staff would like to highlight the following project elements for information purposes. The proposal involves a land assembly that includes all 5 existing properties bounded by Dyke Road to the west, south, and then number 2 road to the east. A new road connection is proposed at the north connecting Dyke Road and number 2 road that would be secured through dedication. Additional land dedications would also be needed for dike infrastructure works, of which specific requirements would be determined through the technical review of the rezoning. A 6-story development is proposed that consists of townhouse residential units along the west and south portions of the site, which are associated with the dike road frontage. Pedestrian-oriented retail areas are located at grade along the number 2 road frontage and north portion of the site adjacent to the proposed new road connecting Dike Road and number 2 road. In addition to the townhouse units, residential uses are proposed in 2 4-story buildings that are located on top of this 2-story parkade. The residential building at the south portion of the site contains the proposed Strata Market rental units. The residential building on the east side of the site fronting number 2 road contains the built low-end market rental, or lemur, and built market rental residential units in this project. Approximately 17% floor area is allocated to the built lemur units, which exceeds the city's lemur program floor area requirement of 10%. Approximately 22% of the floor area is allocated for the built market rental units, which also exceeds the city's OCP market rental floor area requirements of 15%. Comments and feedback provided by council at this stage would inform the comprehensive and technical review of the rezoning application. Once processing of this rezoning application is complete and all outstanding issues resolved, a future report on the rezoning application and accompanying bylaw amendments would be forwarded to council for formal consideration through the normal process, which will include a required public hearing. Happy to answer any
We
questions
got
of committee.
questions. Okay, Mr. Mayor, first question to you.
Yeah, thanks. I just want to be very clear about this. So the actual request is to consider the OCP changes, which is simply industrial to mixed use, commercial and residential, right? I mean, if we, yes?
Correct.
Okay, so if in the details, if we have issues, you've welcomed our comments, but they're actually not part of this decision, which is to use this early OCP process, right?
Through your worship to the mayor, yes.
Okay, so I certainly have no issue with the OCP aspect of this thing, but just to give my thoughts, 2 things really jump out at me. First of all, is that contrary to our usual policy or our usual procedure, I think we are clustering the lemur, the affordable units in one building. Is there a technical reason why that is proposed?
Through the chair to Mayor Brody, at this stage, we're still obtaining further information from the applicant on that arrangement, but we do believe it's the reason for the clustering of the lemur and the market rental units in the same development is that it's all going to be operated by a nonprofit operator, and that works well in terms of their operating model for this development.
I think that here in Richmond, I think that that's an exception where we allow them to be clustered. I'm not saying it's written in concrete or something, but I have concerns with that. Secondly, I want to register my concerns with the height. What is contemplated here is 6 floors, 6-story commercial residential built with 2-story podium and 2 4-story buildings above and vehicle access from number 2 road. I have concerns about the height. I think it's fair to say that there are no buildings in that area which would be as high. And there are many reasons, from the aesthetics to the shadowing, to the views, to just the density of it, that I have real concerns with 6 floors. So I'll just leave it as a comment as you have requested.
Okay, so we need to, given the nature of this, deal with the technical side of things as opposed to the detail of what it could be, because we don't know. We haven't got an application per se of specifics that we can discuss right now. Am I correct?
Through the chair, we do
We
have,
need to be
we
high
have
level,
received a
but we
rezone.
need to be, we have not, you have, but we have not. So we need to make our comments and our questions at high level. Okay, Carol. Yeah, okay, Carol? Do you-
Yeah, I also do not have a problem with the change in zoning. I think it's the way to go. I do also have a problem with the height. And as Mr. Reese sent me an email earlier and to everybody else answering some of my questions, and what I don't get is, I know that in the perfect world, retail is 2 stories high, but it doesn't have to be. I mean, go to Moncton Street. A lot of those are just 1-story high retail shops. So could we not bring it down 1 full story by simply only having like 10-foot ceilings in the retail area?
Through the chair, in response to Councillor Day, the specific height of the retail is not necessarily the only driving factor behind the height of the 2-story podium. The 2-story podium also contains 2 levels of parking. The podium structure actually contains 1 level of subsurface parking, but the apparent level of the height of the podium from grade is 2 stories, and that's to accommodate the parking. In terms of determining or identifying, or I should say restricting the height of the commercial, the podium uses, the podium would still need to be there to accommodate those supporting uses such as parking. In some cases, having commercial uses at grade at a specific height does help to screen elements of the parkade as well.
So if we had a 1-level parking garage, would that significantly reduce the amount of parking spaces?
Through the chair, in response to Councillor Day, that would result in a significant reduced number of parking spaces required for this development.
Okay, the other big change from the first application, which was withdrawn by the applicant, was they have acquired an additional property, 12771 Number 2 Road. So given that it's now a larger site, why couldn't it be spread out over that site? I know we have to do the road allowance and have a connection from Dyke Road to Number 2 Road, which we've been looking for years to do. But even with that road, that still allows more space. Why could the development not be spread out over a larger area to bring the height down?
Through the chair, in response to Councillor Day, the acquisition of the additional property did allow for some efficiencies in terms of the development as a whole. In addition to the new road connection that you had referenced, there's also other site factors that have to be considered. One of those factors is an existing provincially designated watercourse that's existing along the south edge of the site. That's a 15-meter riparian management area. So the development had to take into account a provincially and city designated setback from that. Furthermore, along the Dyke Road frontage, and this would involve the thin, narrow strip, as well as the north-south portion, that forms part of the city's Dyke structure. As part of this redevelopment, we would be looking for infrastructure upgrades, which would include also additional land dedication for those Dyke upgrades. That would also be significant land takings from the overall development site. So the footprint that you see of the development in this initial rezoning application is taking those factors into consideration in terms of the remaining site envelope they have left to develop.
Okay, and then the ESA area, that I was going to ask about that next, that's to the south. Can that be, it has to stay undeveloped. Can that turn into a public park? And if so, how big could it be?
Through the chair, in response to Councillor Day, generally riparian management areas are designated as a no disturbance area. So aspects such as programming specific to a park wouldn't be permitted. There could certainly be environmental compensation to be considered in those areas, but on the basis that they would be naturalized areas, not intended for, or that would be conducive to public programming and use by the public.
Okay, so scrap the public programming, but there could be a boardwalk with benches where people just sit and enjoy the green space. That wouldn't in any way affect the ESA area.
Through the chair to Councillor Day, certainly as we get into the more technical aspects of the project and we work out the ultimate design for diking improvements and park improvements that will be incorporated as part of the diking works, we can certainly work with our internal teams to discuss what the proposed plans for that would be.
Okay, and, yeah, so I'm really happy about the new road. I'm really happy about the 45 Lemur units and the 46 market rental units, but I'm concerned about the height. Oh, last question. It's got kind of a peak roof thing happening. Is it possible that that could lower the height also significantly if it just went with a flat roof?
Through the chair, in response to Councillor Day, the roof forms that could be looked at by the consultant team could certainly reduce the overall massing and proposed height of the development. It would be subject to further discussion with the applicant and their team.
I think if we want to appease the other people who live in the area, it would be logical to go with a flat roof, even if it was a green flat roof, and use that area for outdoor space, as we did on, I think it was Chatham. We had a green roof and kind of a park area on the top of that one, so I'd go for that before I'd go for this peaked roof, which would have no
Jesse
purpose.
Berg's place.
So, yeah, thank you.
Okay, we can look at Jesse Berg's place in Chatham. We know what we did with that, and it was only 3 stories. Councillor Heed.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just need clarification, and I'm alluding to the mayor's comments here, is so I understand what we're talking about today. It's not the technical aspect of the bill, correct? We're just talking about the OCP, whether we as a council would like to do that. So, you know, I've got technical questions, but, you know, I can put them on the floor, but I'm not sure that's what we're here to do today.
That's my understanding too. I mean, you can ask a couple of
Okay, I'll
mechanical
just.
questions if you wish, but until we get, it's in the report. There were comments in the report of what's
So-
you've read in the report.
You know, I guess my comments are, and I asked a question, if we're talking about the 2-level parkade, are we looking for a bladder system or something of that nature in that area? Would they be required to build that?
Sorry, through your worship to Councillor Heed, a bladder system for the parkade itself
Yes.
in terms of,
Yes,
for the one
underground.
level of underground?
Yes.
They would likely have to bathtub such a building in order to ensure that there's no water penetration into the underground portion of the parkade.
Okay, when we talk about the height of the first floor, where it's generally going to be commercial or something like that, I'm assuming the build will be first floor concrete, and that's why we go a bit higher with, in conjunction with the parkade, and then wood for the remaining 5 floors. Am I correct in making that assumption?
Through the chair, in response to Councillor Heed, I believe that the method of construction is concrete for the parkade structure with wood frame construction for the residential buildings on top.
So above the commercial space?
Correct.
Correct. And generally, based on your experience, the first floor, when we go commercial, generally the ceiling's higher than any of the subsequent floors, correct?
Through your worship to Councillor Heed, correct.
Okay. I guess my concerns are, and if you can just verify with me, Councillor Wolf has helped me along. I understand the specific area for lemurs. Would that be this one here on number 2 road?
Correct.
And I guess I do have some concerns unless there's a real reason why. And I don't necessarily accept the reason because the contractor or the provider would want them all centrally located. I just find that it's not appealing to me. I've seen it in some buildings we have in Richmond in the way, in fact, that lemur area is treated, if I could use that term, is significantly different from the other areas. So, you know, I'm more inclined to be in favor of the lemur spread out throughout the development versus in a specified area. And I'm not sure, I thought we had a bylaw, Mr. Chair. Do we not have a bylaw with respect to
Yeah, we have a policy. I'll get Mr. Craig to say it, but we have a policy to integrate. Go ahead.
Through the chair to Councillor Heed, yes, the city policy is that dispersion of the affordable housing units is preferred. The city policy does allow for co-location, provided they are managed by a nonprofit housing provider.
So when was the last time, Mr. Craig, based on your experience, that we went with them all being situated in one particular area? I know with a couple of the plans that were coming forward, for example, with Minaru and all that, where they're going to have a specific building, but have we recently accepted them all in one designated area in a larger development?
Through the chair to Councillor Heed, I would say that it is quite common to have co-located when the number of units is large.
Thank you.
Okay, and that was a specific population.
Yeah, thank you, and through the chair. First of all, with the land use and mixed residential commercial, I do support that. So, and just a couple of comments for feedback. With the height, that is a concern for me. And one question I have, because the land is somewhat different heights there, especially like the Diplomat Bakery building, it's actually kind of on the dike, even though it's not that many stories, I don't think. But can you comment on what the relative height would be if it was 6 stories in relation to the ones, for instance, on the east side of 2 Road or on the south side of Dyke Road, or London Road, I think it's called there?
Through the chair, in response to Councillor Hobbs, the proposed height of the rezoning of the development under rezoning application is 27, just over 27 meters in height. Comparable other developments in the London Landing area, so specifically the area on the east side of number 2 Road, those have ranged anywhere from 19 meters in height upwards to 21 meters in height.
Right, and I get that, I think 27.3 I read, but what I was talking about, will the land on the west side of 2 Road, the land in question, is that going to be raised in a sense to make it the same height as 2 Road on the east? Because I think on London Road, in the building on the south side facing the river, that is a tall building, and also seems to be that the land is a little bit higher than what it would be on number 2 Road because it slopes up.
Through the chair, in response to Councillor Hobbs' questions about grading, generally the grading on the site will be higher on the western and southern portions of the site, which are closer to Dyke Road, and will slope down to match close to the existing grade on number 2 Road. So it's not anticipated that number 2 Road or the grade along number 2 Road would be elevated significantly. There might be minor modifications, but close to matching existing.
Okay, so just echoing some other comments you've heard around the table, I do have concerns about the height in relation to the other buildings, so we'll see where that goes. One other question I have is about the road connection going from 2 Road to Dyke Road. And when I think about that road, and it might be my own confusion, is Dyke Road our jurisdiction, or is it shared with Steveston Harbor Authority, or is it Steveston Harbor Authority, or is it completely the city?
Through the chair, in response to Councillor Hobbs, Dyke Road is our road, City of Richmond road dedication. So it's our road under our jurisdiction. Steveston Harbor Authority does utilize it as part of some of their operations, but it is our road, and we have infrastructure in that road.
You know, like the pump station.
Yeah.
One last thought was, oh no, you covered that off. So I think that's it. I think the major concern for me, other than what's been expressed about Lemur and everything, is just the height overall in the neighborhood. That would include the number of stories. And I look forward to seeing what you come up with. Thank you.
Just have a question before I go to Councillor Day. On that road, is that to go in concurrently with the development?
Through the chair, yes, any road dedications and improvements would be done concurrently with the development through a servicing agreement.
Given reality in that situation, then I would put in now for the minutes that you put in a calming traffic road before it starts. I don't think it's a great idea to push the road through, but you should go down there and have a look at and see how far they come from Britannia all the way through and then whip around the Dyke Road and what have you. It's rather interesting. It's not 50 Ks, and I'll just leave it. the traffic coming, the warning goes out now before it's even built, and I'll leave it at that. Okay, Councillor Day.
Councillor McNulty, you're absolutely right. I have videotape of a motorcycle doing a wheelie right in front of me on that Dyke Road. It's, there's some crazy people down there. Okay, just thinking outside the box completely. We have Dyke Road coming along and around the site and ending up at Number 2 Road. We're gonna have Dyke Road now go straight to Number 2 Road, which I think is actually a very good idea as long as we get traffic calming. Is there any way to eliminate that road that currently does the dog leg around the property? Because if we did, we'd have a lot more land to work with, and maybe we could just lower the whole thing.
Through your worship, or through the chair, sorry, to Councillor Day.
Stevenson Harbor Authority isn't the dike.
Yes.
Go ahead.
There will be some need to consider dike access still from the Stevenson Harbor Authority, but certainly those would be details that would be ironed out again through the detailed engineering review and servicing design works for the dike.
Because I think we own that entire road, right? Because as I recall, that the Stevenson Harbor Authority had a bunch of land, and we had a bunch of land, and we did a trade quite a while ago. I'm thinking about 5-6 years ago, or maybe more.
Through the chair, the city is the owner of the road.
Okay, good, thank you.
You done? Okay. All right, seeing no other speakers. Michael, do you want to make a comment? No, you're okay? Jack, you're okay? All right, we have a recommendation that we go ahead with the review. So moved, seconded, all those in favor? Contrary carried. Thank you very much, good start, and let's keep it going. Okay, thanks very much. Okay, item number 3 is a housing agreement, market rental housing on Ketchison Court, and a bylaw to permit the city to secure market rental units at 3420 Ketchison Court. And Sarah and Josh, well, just Josh this time. Anything to add?
Nothing to add to the report, Mr. Chair. Happy to answer any questions.
Any comments? Moved, seconded. All those in favor? Contrary carried. And the next item we have is then the appointment of a bylaw officer, Mr. Norton, our manager of development be appointed approving officer. Motion moved, seconded. All those in favor? Contrary carried. And we have one manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to highlight that tonight Vancouver Coastal Health is holding an information session from 6 to 7:30 at the Steveston Community Center regarding their proposed care center located at 11771 Fentman Place. Vancouver Coastal Health has sent invitations to tonight's sessions to all property owners within 100 meters of the subject property.
Okay, any questions? Okay, thanks very much for that information, and nothing else for the good of planning. Motion to adjourn, move seconded. All those in favor, contrary carried. And Public Works will begin momentarily.
So they're just here to hear the comments, huh? They're just here to hear the comments?
Yeah, they're just here to hear comments. No, they're good, they're, other than their comments, and they could be a step down.
He's bringing up 3 roads.
Is that under number 3?
Yeah, we're gonna,
Separate one.
we're gonna amend number 3, no, hold on, just one sec. Yeah, under number 1, yeah, and then number 3 is gonna be Francis Road, and number 4 is YBR. But we'll do this officially, so. How we doing, fellas?
Okay.
Are you guys ready to go? Okay. No, I'm not gonna kick you out. Hi, welcome to the Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting for May 21st, 2025. First item on the agenda is the minutes. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Yeah, but under addition, do the minutes first, and then the next committee, and then agenda additions and deletions. So the first item on the agenda is the minutes of the April 23rd meeting. Do I have a seconder First and second, perfect. Thank you. All those in favor? Those opposed? The next committee meeting will be June 18th, right here in the Anderson Room at 4 o'clock. I understand there's some agenda additions and deletions. Councillor Heed would like to add as item number 3, the Francis Road updates, potentially talking about widening the sidewalk between McCutcheon and Schaefer. And item number 4 is communication with YVR regarding traffic concerns brought forward by the public. Are there any other additions or deletions?
Yeah, I'd like,
Sorry?
I don't work, I'm not a member of the committee.
That's okay.
I'd like to bring up speed on number 3 road, Linus Lane, and Mineral Boulevard.
Okay, so Linus Lane,
Number 3 road, Mineral Boulevard.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, okay, traffic assessment, wherever it is, well, maybe it can be discussed under that. The other item I'd like to put on is to put a stop sign on Regent Street in Steveston. We request for stop signs down there and traffic calming, and residents down there think stop signs
okay.
are not the answer, but for the price of a stop sign, I think it's worthwhile putting it on.
So item number 5 then would be Linus Lane and Westminster Highway speed concerns?
Well, it could be
Linus-
under another 3 road as well.
Yeah. Okay. but
I don't care where.
Yeah, number 3 road is covered on item number 1.
Okay,
and
all
Westminster
right.
Highway.
Well, I just want to add 2 more spaces.
And then number 6 is a Regent Street potential stop sign in
Yep.
Steveston.
Okay?
Madam
Yep.
Chair, surely we don't need a council resolution for a stop sign?
Well, staff don't agree we should put one there.
Really?
So if staff don't agree we put one there, I'm going to get it by
We're
resolution.
pretty open to new ideas in this committee. So are there any other additions or deletions to the agenda? Having, all those in favor? Those opposed? Perfect. Okay, so item number 1 is the number 3 road traffic assessment. And staff have given us a report on the number 3 road. And it goes from Westminster Highway to Granville Avenue. And there were some questions about potentially reducing the speed to, I think, 30 kilometers an hour. And Sonalia, would you like to update anything in your report?
Madam Chair, thank you. I just wanted to point out one typo in the report, that the intersection of Granville Avenue and number 3 road is identified as number 20 in the city's top 20 collision-prone intersections, and it's actually number 11.
Okay, so other than that, nothing else you want to highlight in the report?
Madam Chair, nothing further to add, and happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you ever so much. Councillor Heed, do you wanted to discuss this issue?
Yes. So as I read the report, your recommendation is that we don't lower the speed limit on number 3 road from Westminster Highway to Granville. Am I correct in making that assumption? That's your recommendation?
Through the chair to Councillor Heed, staff did a technical assessment and determined that there's no supporting data that warrants
Okay,
the change.
I
but-
just want to know, is that your recommendation?
Through the chair, we are seeking direction. We're not making any recommendations before you today. We're providing the data for committee's consideration.
Okay, and I guess, and that's the difficulty I have with this, is the data, we can go on and get the data anywhere. We could ask you to provide the data, and then we could make the referral. I think initially in the discussion with this, and I know in addition to the committee, Councillor McNulty was here, and we had a discussion on this. And as you can attest to the fact, number 3 road over the years has changed. Do you live in Richmond?
Yes, I do.
You do. So you understand some of the changes that have come along number 3 road. Further changes are coming along number 3 road. Not only do we have the large residential development right here by the shopping center, we have it on the other side of number 3 road. We've got a couple of other large complexes that are being built, towers that are being built. We've got the increased usage in the new a transit line station there in Brighouse. We've got raised crosswalks simply because people are crossing every which way they can. You would probably agree to me that a lot of us try and avoid that section of number 3 road unless we have to, simply because it's so congested. in all likelihood, you can't even do 50K down that particular road at any given time during the daylight hours into the mid-evening hours, simply because of the congestion and the people there. The reason that I brought this forward to the committee was to ensure that we maintain this to be a safe corridor. So when you give me statistics, and if we're gonna make our decision based on how many people have been hit by a car or how many collisions we have, that's what I'm trying to avoid. And just trying to give some rationale as to why I brought this forward, is to prevent the incident from occurring at the outset. And I think anyone would attest to the fact, and I know Councillor McNulty is big on this, is there certain areas that we could reduce the speed. You can use the argument the police aren't going to enforce it. You can use that argument whatever way you want. But the fact remains, we've got to start to look at change in the behavior of these particular drivers. So, I just wish staff, when you do a report, you come forward with some recommendations for us to consider. Because I look at this report and say, why did we wait 3 or 4 months? I'm not sure when the initial referral was for this particular report. So I'm still of the mindset to move this to reduce the speed limit on 3 Road from Granville to Westminster Highway.
And further to that, it states on page 18 that the statistics from the technical assessment indicate that a majority of the collisions with pedestrians and cyclists are due to drivers failing to yield while turning. We may need more signage to indicate there's a pedestrian in the area. I believe, Mayor Brody, you had a question?
Well, I actually do wish to take issue with the idea that there's no recommendation. There's no supporting data from the traffic assessment to warrant changing the speed limit. Number 3 Road is classified as a major thoroughfare. Maintaining the existing 50-kilometer speed limit is appropriate to move traffic efficiently across the corridor. Lower down, the speed and collision data do not warrant any changes to the existing speed limit on this section of Number 3 Road. From my point of view, we can assess the results and the effects of the second phase of Richmond Center, when we're presented with it. But right now, the comment was made that nobody goes along there, you try and avoid it. Well, that has been the strategy for decades, is to get people off Number 3 Road with the ring roads, which in this case are basically Gilbert, Minaroo, and Garden City, to encourage people to go there. I think that that section of Number 3 Road should be an ongoing concern, ongoing analysis to find out what we can do to ease the congestion. But it is the congestion that is the problem, not in my mind, and it's not speeds. As has been pointed out, you probably would be hard pressed to go 50 kilometers in that section. So I think that's where the emphasis should be, is strategies to decongest the road, to get traffic, the interplay between people on the Canada line and people going across the street, and the buses, and the 2 lanes of traffic, plus you've got the bicycle lanes on either side as well. So I think there's a lot we can do or consider to try and make sure that road is safe. I just don't agree that I agree with the comments of staff that reducing the speed limit from 50 kilometers to 30. I'm sorry, if you've tried to go 30 kilometers on a regular street, it's hard to go that slow. And I think you're causing a problem, not solving one.
And further to that, the speed study on page 17 says the study indicates that 85% speeds on this section are 44 kilometers to 56 kilometers. So, yeah. Councillor Wolf?
Thanks to the chair, to staff. My question it relates to what I thought was called Major Road Network, MRN. Is that a thing? That's an acronym?
Through the chair, that's right,
'Cause
MRN,
I
Major
think-
Road Network.
I think in Hamilton, when we looked at bringing the speed down to 30, all the side roads and neighborhood roads went down to 30, but Westminster Highway didn't because it was in the Major Road Network and it required TransLink approval or something like that. And that's not mentioned in the report. I assume 3 Road is in that.
Yeah,
Major
yeah,
Road
through the
Network.
chair to Councillor Wolf, if I could clarify, number 3 road is part of the MRN, TransLink's designated nomenclature for major roadways that they provide funding for maintenance. However, it's the section of number 3 road outside of the study area, so north of Westminster Highway. The study area section is not within the TransLink MRN. It is identified as a major road in the city's road classification.
Okay, and then follow up, then what is the major thoroughfare, capital T thoroughfare? How does that fit into the?
Through the chair, that's how the city classifies the functionality of the roadway. It carries a lot of traffic that goes through the city center, buses, it's a multimodal facility. Essentially, it's an arterial roadway, if you will, in that it does provide movement for a higher number of trips than a typical local road would.
Okay, thanks. And then just to clarify again, so you said this section of 3 Road is not in the MRN, but the section to the north and the sections to the south are?
No, it's just the section north of Westminster Highway. Everything south of Westminster Highway on number 3 road is not part of the MRN.
Okay, thanks.
All right, well, the staff recommendation is that the report titled Number 3 Road Traffic Assessment be received for information, unless, yeah, is there a seconder? So we're not going to receive this for information if we don't have Mr. Councillor McNulty?
No, I was going to make a comment. I'm not on the committee.
Well, that's okay.
I think we got to wake up. The people are talking, and they're crying out.
he on?
They're crying out right now, and I think we need to listen to the people. Speed kills, and we're waiting for something to happen. We've got to, as Councillor Heat said, change the culture. We've got bitches about electric bikes and the little trolleys that they run. We've got complaints all over the place. I have 5 letters in front of me. We're waiting for something to happen before we deal with pedestrian safety. And unfortunately, there's a culture out there, and everybody has a heavy foot. And I think more than ever, we've got to deal with it and not wait for it. I don't need stats to do it. What I want to bring up later, we got people who, well, we'll explain that later because I'll deal with the issue on here. And I think this segment out here is one of the most dangerous places in Richmond. And I think we need to consider all residential areas at 30. You remember we got Steveston through, which I brought up way back when, and it's actually working. The PC Hydro buses are going at 30K, and people are lined up behind them. I love it. Thank you very much, PC Hydro boys and girls that are driving. And people are learning it, but there are just a few that are still thinking that they're going to go on it. So you can receive it for information, but I hope there's some direction because I'm going to bring up number 3 road again. It's one of my things on lead of reducing to 30K, even down to 40. Let's get moving in the right direction.
Okay,
And so anyhow, I can't vote here, but I'll be bringing it up Monday on council to the public because they want it brought up.
And Councillor Au, I believe, is online.
Yes, I am.
Do we see you, Councillor? There he is. Okay.
Looking good.
The Zoom king. Go ahead, Councillor Au.
No, I just want to say that now it seems to me lowering the speed limit doesn't seem to be a solution to the problem. I think it's really congestion. I think it's the high volume of the traffic. Speeding doesn't seem to be the reason for these collisions or other things. So I don't think just trying to lower the limit, the speed limit would work, would do any good.
I can't quite hear what he's saying. Is he
So
saying?
what I'm trying to say is that, speeding is not the cause of the accidents on number 0 in this section. So that's why I question whether or not it's wise to lower the speed limit as a solution. It's not a cause of the problem. So it might be the wrong solution.
All right, well, there was a motion on the table that was not seconded to receive this for information. Are you voting for or against that?
For.
For. He'll second it, so that means we have it on the floor. So let's have some further discussion. The motion to receive this report for information is on the floor, and we have Councillor Nolte.
I've made my comments.
Okay. So, call the question, yeah. No more discussion? Okay, all those in favor of accepting it for information? And Jack, and those against? Okay, so that's defeated. Do we have against accepting it for information, Councillor Wolf, Day, and Heed? Do we want to do any follow-up action, or do we want to, is there any other motions to bring forward? Okay, so we're just going to not accept it for information. Interesting. Okay, well, let's move on to number 2 then. 2025 Active Transportation Initiatives Annual Update. This is a report on basically cycling and a whole bunch of other cool things. Sonia, do you have anything to add to your report?
Madam Chair, I don't have anything further to add to this report, and staff are available to answer questions.
Okay, so on page 22, there's a list of the approved infrastructure, and some of these are under construction, and some of them are in the awarding stage, and some are on hold until later in 2025. So there are about 7 or 8 projects on page 22, and then there's whatever, approved infrastructure. And so, basically, the motion on this is to receive this report for information. Are there any comments before we, okay, Councillor Heed, there we go.
Yes, if I'm looking at the correct report.
Page 21.
On page 23,
It starts on page 21.
yeah, so I'm looking at page 23.
Yeah, that's the
I'm
report.
looking at bullet point number 2, number 2 road in Westminster Highway, implement a separated cycling facility along the north side of Westminster Highway from number 2 road to Linus Lane. And I recall when we had a discussion about this absolutely makes no sense at all. We understand there's intersection changes coming up there with regard to right turns off of Westminster Highway going west, or off of number 2 road going west on Westminster Highway. We understand that turn lane would become a bike path, multi-use path, whatever you want to call it. It stops at Linus Lane. It is a complete waste of money unless, and you recall the discussion I had on this, unless we were to extend that all the way down to where it meets in with the Railway Greenway pathway. Then that makes sense, because we're redoing the works yard. If you're going to put a bike lane on the north side of Westminster Highway from Linus Lane all the way down to where it hooks up with the Railway Greenway path, then it makes sense. Putting this bike path and spending the money for one block makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, especially when we're redoing that entire works yard area. Why wouldn't we extend it all the way down to where it hooks up with the Railway Greenway path?
Which is 1 block east of there.
Exactly.
Or 1 block west. 1 block west. I'm sure staff have comments to make on that. I believe that's actually already, city staff is already working on that, but can you update what the deal is?
Through the chair, absolutely, to Councillor Heed. Ultimately, that is the plan for the cycling network, to extend that facility as far west as possible to line up with the Railway Greenway and beyond to Steveston. The Linus section takes us to the first phase, gets cyclists to the neighborhood bikeway that extends further south to Linus so that they can connect via the neighborhood bikeway to Railway Greenway in the interim. And then as part of the Works Yard project, we will be looking to extend that facility further west.
Okay, this is new information to me because when we previously discussed this, I was told, no, it is not in the works from Linus Lane to the Greenway. So has that now changed?
Thank you through the chair to Councillor Heed. If my memory serves correctly, we had spoken about the different connections and phasing that was going to occur. I think staff can recirculate a memo to committee or council on this matter. But ultimately, there's an expansive network plan for all of the cycling for north-south and east-west. I think that was part of it as well.
Just a question, do you have any more questions?
Well, if it's a phased in, yeah, absolutely, then it makes sense. But I'll tell you, if it's not phased in, when we're redoing that entire Works Yard area, it makes no sense at all. Thank
So
you.
let's just go into that. So if it's going to be upgraded all the way to the railway corridor, Greenway, that's dependent on when the city works yard gets built on that south section. When can we expect that to happen? Because that is related to this. Mr. B? Yeah.
Madam Chair, we don't have an exact timeline for that. Like at the end of the day, as the development of the works yard proceeds, it's currently in design and moving forward with all that, we're planning to incorporate this in that design. Now, I don't have an exact date when that will proceed, but that's the time period we're planning to work towards doing this.
But that would be the next phase once this is completed.
Madam Chair, I would think that sometime during phase one, we would try and accomplish this. Like, we've certainly looked at it. We've looked at the existing sidewalk. To be honest, you don't have to make it a lot wider to make it an MUP. So, we don't necessarily think that it's going to be really difficult to achieve in this location, but we felt it was a bit weird to do it outside of doing the works yard work.
Okay, because there's a lot of space there. And Councillor McNulty.
Just a question on the report. Thank you for putting down a PW 22 and 23. When these are all put up, I'd be interested to know on our cycling network, how many kilometers have we increased our cycling network? I believe right now in the city we have, 177 kilometers of cycling. What will this take? I think should be a significant increase, and I'd like to know that. And I think the public would like to know that as well, as we're adding to our cycling network.
Yeah.
In a positive manner through the chair.
Would you have that answer by any chance?
Through the chair to Councillor McNulty, right now we have 340 lane kilometers of cycling facilities in the city, including the dike trails, multi-use paths, bike lanes, et cetera. And it's been extended with the Steveston MUP and number 2 road map coming online recently. So definitely it is expanding.
But all of these are included in that 340?
These would be outside of the
I'd
340.
be interested in how much is there. When you say you're going from A to B and C to D, it'd be interesting because they are significant.
We'd be happy to provide that
Can you
number.
calculate that now?
Absolutely. We'll get back to you with that.
Yeah, that's great. That's quite an astonishing number, 340 kilometers of bike paths and multi-use paths. That's amazing. All right, is there a motion to accept the staff report for information? Moved and seconded. All those in favor? All right, we're going to move on to number 3. Councillor Heed, you were wanting to ask questions about Francis Road, updates to the sidewalk between McCutcheon and Schaefer.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair, and I have, staff is well aware of what my comments are, and so hopefully we can deal with this. We've received a few pieces of correspondence regarding what is going on from neighbors in the subdivision. And they're kind of concerned with the narrowing, and it's my understanding, and I've spoken to them on the phone, their concern is narrowing of Schaefer Gate at Francis Road. That's from one of them. And one of them is the frustration, again, towards us on widening the sidewalk on Francis Road between McCutcheon Place to Schaefer Gate. And my understanding from the correspondence is they're talking about a special crosswalk to improve pedestrian and cyclist safety. So these people are certainly in favor of safety, but I think they're opposed, many of them in that area, for the widening going on. So I thought it'd be prudent for us to have a discussion with staff.
I spoke to staff, they have an update for us on that, so. Mr. B?
Yeah, Madam Chair, like, to, one of the points was the concurrent construction with the Gilbert Trunk Sewer. We've delayed construction of this to not coincide with that. We'll wait until the Gilbert Trunk is complete to move forward on that. With respect to the widening of the refuge for cyclists and pedestrians, yes, it does narrow Schaefer to some degree. Right now, the lanes are very wide. They're 4.4 meters wide, which is much wider than, you know, what we even used to have on Steveston Highway. And they're not going to become particularly narrow. They'll be 3.4 meters wide, which is still wider than what we have on Steveston Highway, even the widest lane that we have at the end of the day. So they're not becoming super narrow. They're still really quite wide.
Did you have a follow-up question, Councillor Heath?
Yeah, so have we done any engagement with the community around there to address their concerns? I guess that's the first question I have.
Through the chair to Councillor Heed, yes, we've written back to the people that have written to us on this issue and explained this to them, and I have not received any other follow-up from them. Most of the comments were actually about the construction period, which we've deferred as requested.
Okay, so it's on hold, basically.
Yes, Madam Chair.
So I guess the decision's been made and we're moving forward on that. In
Right.
essence, that's what's happening.
The upgrade to Francis are being held back until Gilbert is finished.
And then, but once Gilbert's finished, we're moving forward on the widening of that from Schaefer to McCutcheon.
That's what I understand. Is that true?
Madam Chair, yeah, that is the plan unless council directs us otherwise.
Okay. Well,
But I'm not proposing a direction. What I'm trying to say, Mr. B, is, or to Roland, is we need to engage with the community more than just writing letters. And that's part of the frustration. And Roland did a great job when we were dealing with a problem around Steveston on the extension of the MUP. And it was because of him and going and talking to the neighbors and delivering that customer service that they were satisfied, and we no longer have this negative attitude towards this. So I guess that's the customer service I'm striving to obtain here. These are two reasonable people with respect to this. They're not unreasonable, and as you see with the next agenda item, it's pretty well going to be the same. And a lot of it is how we respond to these people on whether we're able to have success in explaining it or not explaining it. I think just the written correspondence and them not understanding why we're reducing the road by 1 meter or whatever, you know, that's just what I'm looking for in our bureaucracy administration.
okay, well, I'm pretty sure that's what we heard. We've got some time now that the project has been put on hold, and I would imagine that staff are going to follow up with the people who are concerned. Is there anything else you want to add, or are we good on that?
No, but again, it's just, you know, even me, when you receive an email, I think there's just a better customer service. You know, people may disagree with me, but
I think staff have heard you
Thank
loud
you.
and clear, Councillor Heed. Okay, Mayor Brody, did you have something to add?
I do. My question is, as I understand it, Schaefer, the intersection on either side of Schaefer Gate is being narrowed with these, you know, a wider sidewalk or concrete anyway. How do the dimensions of that compare to a similar process that was done on Lucas at Number 3 Road?
Through the chair to Mayor Brody, Lucas is actually narrower than what this will be. And I think that the refuges are narrower as well.
Because I can tell you from experience, when I lived in that area, that is a real problem. You're going down number 3 road, you've got to really slow down, and you've got to take that corner very tightly. So as a first step, may I ask for a direction that staff give us a memo telling us about the dimensions of each of what is proposed at Schaefer Gate and what exists at Lucas. Because many times I thought of making a comment on how unsatisfactory that Lucas at number 3 road is. It's really difficult. You have to be very careful to take that corner very narrowly to stay on your own side, and it's tough.
Through the chair to Mayor Brody, yeah, we can certainly do that. We can make that comparison, and we can certainly look at improving Lucas Road if that's something that council would like us to do.
Well, maybe we could start off with a memo on the dimensions and what is proposed and what exists.
And I think it's good to have that example on Lucas Road so that we can fully understand what is being proposed. And, you know, more the merrier. Let's send out a memo with those maybe drawings and measurements. So.
Yeah, if I may add that, you know, certainly we have gotten a lot of negative comments about Lucas Road, and that's certainly one of the reasons why we weren't entertaining making this even close to as narrow as Lucas Road.
Okay. Well, let's get that memo, and then we can talk about it more at the next Public Works meeting. Thank you. Everybody good with that? Okay, moving on. Item number 4 is we've had some complaints from a resident, very concerned about safety at YVR. One of the intersections, it's just really difficult for pedestrians to make it across. Could staff update us on that situation? You'll get into it.
Yeah, Madam Chair, certainly. It is the, Grant McConaughey and, trying to remember the cross street's name. Templeton. Templeton, thank you very much. I remember the intersection, but struggling with Templeton. So this intersection is completely within YVR jurisdiction. So while we do talk to YVR about things, particularly that our citizens bring up, you know, ultimately the choices at this intersection are YVR's.
And I believe the problem was people making turns and that being difficult or dangerous for pedestrians. Is that correct?
Madam Chair, we're not exactly, like the fellow that's written to us, he's said that he's almost been run over a couple times in the crosswalk, but he hasn't explained exactly how. We would like to understand exactly how that's happening. The intersection itself is quite a bit different than maybe a lot of intersections in the city. It has a phased signal timing. The people that are coming from the north going to the south, and there's a dual left going to the east, that phase happens without a northbound phase going. The northbound phase follows once that happens. So it's more complex than a lot of other intersections that we have in the city. The compounding issues are also that the radius of the corner on one of the crosswalks is really quite long. And when I look at the crosswalk, it's actually about a little over 20 meters from where the stop bar is for the right turners. So I'm not positive if his problem is happening when there's a green light and people are going around the corner really quickly, or if people are stopped and not able to kind of see pedestrians from that distance.
And can you just explain how it works, the communication between the city and YVR?
Absolutely. There are meetings from time to time on different projects, like there were many on their diking and on their bike routes and things like that. We have meetings to talk about Ferguson Road and things like that as well. So there's a lot of communication, not necessarily on this intersection at this point. Now, I did note that the resident had already been in contact with YVR. Generally, we would take their complaint to YVR to to inform YVR. That's already been accomplished, but we can ask YVR what they're planning to do.
Okay, and Councillor Heath, did you want to add something to that? Or do you have a
Yes,
question?
there are, Mr. B, have you personally spoken to Mr. Reed?
Through the chair to Councillor Heat, no, I have not.
So I have personally spoken to Mr. Reed, and he leaves his phone number, and that's why I called him. So, again, from a customer service point of view, but what I learned from him, and you got to remember, we understand the federal jurisdiction, we understand the YVR jurisdiction, but we're crying out loud, these are Richmond people. These are our people that are going through this experience. And if you had a conversation with you, he had explained to you that it's the East Crosswalk right on Templeton. And, some of the ideas he had, for example, is, and we've seen it here on some of our crosswalks, where it's a delayed turn signal or delayed so the pedestrian has a chance to go into that crosswalk. If you look at the crosswalk on the east side, the markings are pretty well worn out compared to the crosswalk on the west side of Templeton and there. So, that's one of the ideas he had is why wouldn't we have that delayed thing or talk that? We understand it's YVR, but again, whether it's our bylaw people and the frustration from the people in Burkeville is, our bylaw people say, for example, if there's dogs in the area, they don't deal with it, which I found very surprising. I'm not sure if Mr. Corrado, he's not here. And there's this pointing the finger of not our responsibility, it's federal responsibility, or the federal people pointing the finger and saying it's Richmond's confusion or their responsibility. And they phone the police and they're frustrated because they're told to talk to the OIC, that the staff sergeant that runs the airport, versus the traffic section people in Richmond. Is, it's unbelievable what we put our people through instead of giving them a ear that they can talk to, and we find a solution for them. Whether that solution lies in one-on-one meetings with the YVR people, explaining the situation or something of that nature. I just, again, I think, this is my opinion, we're missing the mark here on customer service. And Mr. Reed is actually a knowledgeable, very well-spoken individual. And, something as simply as the delayed, turning and stuff like that, whether it's a right turn going east on Grant McConaughey or coming from the left, the two lanes, as Mr. B has described.
Well, there are a number of considerations with the delayed. I'll ask staff to fill us in on that.
Yeah, absolutely, Madam Chair. So certainly lead pedestrian interval has its applications. It doesn't work with all signal timings. It could potentially work here in some degree, but I don't know that it would be effective. I think that one of the challenges is, like I said, the distance between the stop bar where people are stopped and where the crosswalk is. Could be an issue. I think it almost makes it like a lead pedestrian interval, like the pedestrian's actually got the time it takes the car to start up and move the 20 meters to actually advance into the intersection. So I don't know that advancing him another 3 seconds would help. What I think might help would be to maybe change where the crosswalk is, or change the radius of the corner that comes around there. I think that some proximity to where the pedestrian is makes it difficult for drivers to see him. So we certainly could suggest a lead pedestrian interval, but like I said, I think it may have some impact, but I don't know if it would be as effective here as you might think. And the other thing is that at the end of the day, if we add an 8-second lead pedestrian interval, it will add 8 seconds to all the signal timings and increased traffic congestion in that location. But certainly we can talk to YVR about that.
I think we'll ask you to go ahead and meet with YVR and reach out to Mr. Reed and see if we can't find a better solution. I don't see delaying traffic as it is so gridlocked there, especially during rush hour. But at the same time, maybe it's possible to make the crosswalk safer, like you said, potentially relocating it. So let's leave that with you. And Councillor Heed, did you, sorry?
I just wanted to say, Madam Chair, that I've heard Councillor Heed loud and clear, and we'll definitely give Mark a call, and we'll meet with him if he would like to. Absolutely.
Okay, so you're okay with that? Okay, everybody work together, we can fix this. Okay, well, let's move on. The next item was Councillor McNulty, you wanted to talk about speed on Linus Lane. Do you want to just?
Thanks, Chair. And first of all, I want to go back and offer my support. We have to do something on number 3 road. I don't care what you're thinking, but you're going to have to do something. I can't, maybe we'll have to do it on Monday night. I liaised to the Accessibility Committee for council. It was brought up again the other night, pleading with me to get some traffic slowing down on Mineral Boulevard. No matter what you say about Mineral Boulevard from Granville through, a number of our people on wheelchairs and blind have dogs and comfort dogs, et cetera, live in apartments across the
You
street.
had asked about Linus Lane, though. That was.
No, I'm getting there.
Okay.
I've got 3 items. People are, even though we have a beautiful crosswalk over there, Rainbow Crosswalk with the yellow flashing lights, people ignore it and go straight on through. And I think some of the problem may be because of the construction and the lack of mobility because of the flaggers that they employ. This is a whole new issue. But speed is an issue on that particular one. And also we're receiving, receiving letters from Linus Lane. And I think we have to wake up. We're getting letters. We need to do something about this. There is no customer service out there when people, and they're pleading. This is the thing. It's not as if it's one-off and whatever. They're speaking for a number of people. So I'd like us to look at those 3 areas to reduce the speed to 30K. Between, in Mineral, between Granville and with the new subdivision, how many people are going to have in there? Thousands? And they're going to go across the street. And how many people live across the street from the 3 towers north? And they're going to be going back and forth, shopping it. And guess what? I would say the majority of them are over 30, being facetious, but the majority of them are senior citizens. They ain't jumping out of the way from hot cars, et cetera. So anyhow, I can't make any motions here, but I'm going to do it on Monday, that we look at those 3 areas of reduction and reducing the speed.
Well, maybe between now and then, organize your thoughts and.
And I'll bring it up Monday, but I'm just putting it forward here. The other is I would plead to have stop signs put on 6th Avenue in Steveston and Regent Street. There has been requests for them. We have to do traffic studies to go on it until somebody's get hit. There's a school down there. One of the things I do want to is commend council and staff. When we put the 30K in, it's working, it's taking time, but it's successful. So far, it's not perfect, but unless we put the parameters in, we're not going to get it. And I can't make that motion to have stop signs put where appropriate, 1 on Regent Street and then 2 on maybe on 6th Avenue, just to break up the thing. If it doesn't stop anybody, make somebody aware.
Okay, let's hear from staff
So
on
it's
that
up to-
suggestion.
up to-
Absolutely, Madam Chair, and I'll start with 6th Avenue and the stop signs. What we, I'm going to take a step back. Stop signs, sometimes we find people don't stop at them, and they sometimes don't solve the problem that you're hoping to solve, and they create a new problem. What we have offered is we'd rather do traffic calming of some sort. And we would like to community process to look at something that's maybe more effective than putting a stop sign here and there. Yes, it will cost a little bit more, but it is more effective, and it doesn't create the issues that if someone views a stop sign as being frivolous, they stop stopping at it, and it does create more potential for accidents in that regard. So we'd rather do other traffic calming issues. However, if council or even this committee would like to direct me to put a stop sign there, I will certainly do it.
Well, I'm wondering if normally what we do in a case like this, Councillor McNulty, is we do a kind of a survey of people who live in the immediate area to find out what they would support. We did that at Kitty Wake and other locations.
I'm not going to wait for them. I'm going to put it forward on Monday then and hopefully try to get it. You know, we can do survey after survey. The people who live there have already spoken. Let's get on with it. So if that's the attitude that the committee is going to take, we're not going to get anywhere.
Okay, let's hear
Forgot
what
about customer service again.
Let's
But
hear
anyhow,
what other
one stop
members-
sign. I'll pay for it.
let's just hear what
Okay.
the members of the
Then
committee
we won't
say.
have to worry.
Okay.
And if I,
I did, yeah.
First of all, we don't put traffic calming or any other devices in generally without some kind of consultation. Right now, we've got a consultation on number 2 road between Andrews and, London Road or Dyke Road, to take a look at speeds along there. I think that I'm gonna make a motion that we ask staff to consult with the neighbors on 6th Avenue regarding traffic calming, stop signs, and the like, to address the traffic issues.
Okay, that's good. Let's just hear from Councillor Heed, and then we'll see if we
Well,
have a seconder.
Just hang on. I want to know if there's a seconder. Okay,
Seconder,
it's seconded. So, okay, then I've got more.
Okay, well, why don't you continue? You're on a roll.
Well, not on that one. So unless there's more discussion on that, let's call the question on it.
Okay, Councillor Heed wants to speak, so let's do that first.
Yes, and I understand where Councillor McNulty's coming from, because I believe we had one of our employees' sons hit at that intersection on his bicycle. And I'm well aware of that and the frustration from the family with respect to that. And I understand what the mayor is saying. I guess what I'm looking for is a quick turnaround. I'm not looking for this to be months down the road. And I think if we can come to some type of a saw-off here on the motion that the mayor is bringing forward, okay, but not 3 or 4 months down the road, not months down the road.
So let's ask staff how long that would take, that consultation.
Madam Chair, if I may, when it comes to stop control signage in the Stevenson area, it's something that Mr. B and his team is already working on. There's still a number of courtesy intersections in the area. So the Director of Transportation and General Manager have the authority to install stop sign if so appropriate. So we already commenced that process and will do so. But when it comes to the traffic calming measure, we definitely, as Mayor Brody mentioned, want to do the consultation and bring forward the results of that consultation. So there's essentially 2 processes. One is for the stop signs, which could be installed by staff, if so warranted on our analysis. With respect to the traffic calming, again, we do encourage and recommend the public engagement process.
And the timeline.
Correct. We can expedite the timeline. I know that I'm mindful of the summer break coming up.
Yeah.
So that's something we'll have to complete on a priority basis and report back as soon as possible.
So you could get it done before summer break.
We'll attempt to get the engagement done before summer break and report back likely after the summer break.
Do you want to?
Not good enough.
Not good enough.
Let's have another child hit with a bike.
Matt,
Stop sign. I can't believe it, but anyway, let's talk about it.
Madam Chair, again,
Yeah, he's going to do the stop sign. The stop sign is right away, and the,
Somebody said.
yeah, the stop sign can be installed right away, but the survey for the traffic calming would take a little bit longer.
I'm not asking for the speed, I'm asking for the stop sign.
Madam Chair, through the chair to Councillor McNulty, correct, we're currently doing the analysis for a large area of Stevenson with respect to the courtesy corners and stop sign warrants, and we'll install those as soon as possible with respect to our study. It will take a little bit of time.
So, I mean, okay, just a quick question, if you were to install the stop sign and later you discovered with traffic calming you didn't need it, it could be removed, is that correct?
Madam Chair, that's certainly possible. We don't often remove stop signs as we want traffic to get used to the new regulations in place, but something that can be considered at a later date.
Okay. Okay, well, the motion as it sits is that staff be directed to do a survey for traffic calming in the area, and I believe if it's a friendly amendment, that a stop sign be installed at that intersection? Sure. You're okay with the movers, good with that? Everyone's, okay, and it's been seconded. All those in favor? Okay, perfect, well done.
And Madam Chair, we also came up the issues about speed on Linus Lane and on Minoru as well.
Yeah.
Certainly, we have spoken to Don Flintoff about Linus Lane. Just to take a step back, I want to say that our speed program has been based on a grassroots public support of these things, and that's how we've approached it. And that's how we've approached this here. Certainly, if council would rather we do a different process that relies less on public engagement and more on direction from council, we can certainly do that. But at the end of the day, the policy does not allow me to actually change speed limits. It will always have to come to council. So
yeah.
generally, we have felt that council would like to know what the public feels about it before we bring that to them. But if council would prefer us to just bring an assessment, we could do that as well if that's what council would rather see.
Yeah, I'm in favor of public consultation because, okay, Mayor Brody?
Minoru has been mentioned for speed. Number 3 road has been mentioned for speed. Nothing's on the floor. My personal feeling is that taking speeds down to 30 is unrealistic, and it just will exacerbate whatever problems we have if it's followed. And we do things on the basis that they are going to be followed. But Minoru has been a problem for the last year or two because of all the construction. And I can understand someone in a wheelchair or someone from the disability community would probably have a difficult time getting across that street with, first of all, with the uneven pavement, with the construction that's going on, the changes of lanes and whatever. What I think a more constructive approach than this would be, unless we want to narrow it down to certain streets, I think what we should have a referral to staff, recommend, I guess it'd be, we'd recommend to council that staff be directed to review the north-south roads in the city center for potential alterations in speed and other measures dealing with congestion and congestion and safety.
So primarily be talking about Mineral Boulevard and number 3 road.
Well, that's the one, those are the two that have been brought up, but probably a case could be made for Buswell. I bet you there's some difficulties there. Certainly Garden City on the exterior, Gilbert on the interior. Now, I'm not trying to suggest that some encyclopedia have to be written over this, but I think that we could get a lot of insights quite quickly to say whether we do have between Westminster and Granville, what kind of issues we are facing, because I for one, am reluctant to just go off the seat of the pants and say, okay, speed is the problem when speed may be part of the problem. But if you reduce speeds down to what should you reduce them, plus all the other safety and construction factors and the congestion factors.
And to that point, right here at number 3 and Granville Avenue, that's number 11 on the top accident corner. So
I, for one, would like to know why that is.
I think people turning is what I heard earlier today when we had a meeting,
Well, it could well be. So anyway, that's the motion I would make, and to get a wider study without redefining the universe.
Do we have a seconder for that?
Second.
Okay, and maybe we can hear from staff before we go any further. They may have something we need to tweak, so.
Madam Chair, nothing to really tweak. We can certainly bring something like that forward. There's certainly a lot of collective wisdom on this from, various manuals and Vision Zero and things like that. So we can certainly assemble that and try and bring that to you as quickly as we can. If we want to do something more comprehensive, one of the things we like to do when we get complaints about speeding is actually measure the speed and try and quantify the issue. Like sometimes we have found that there are real speeding issues, and we've brought those before you, and we find in some neighborhoods there isn't actual speeding. That's not actually causing the problem, and sometimes maybe there's different solutions. So I don't think we can do that in short order. We can't do a speed study for all of City Centre. But we could do a tabletop study on what common practice is and try and get some numbers on accidents and things like that, like we've presented to you today for Number 3 Road, and do that sort of thing. But certainly if the committee would like us to see us do a more comprehensive speed study throughout City Centre, we can certainly do that as well.
Okay, Councillor Heat?
Yes, thank you. And I agree with the mayor on this, but we're going to have to widen the criteria that is used, because we just would not accept a report from staff. But 20 minutes or 30 minutes ago, we voted not to accept it because of the criteria that was used to measure Number 3 Road. So I'm all in favor of doing a comprehensive review, but you can't do it with the same terms of reference or the same data that you presented on Number 3 Road here. I think you've got whether it's a tabletop, Mr. B, or something wider, a more comprehensive look at it. So just not understanding that it's just not the speed maybe the factor, maybe it's going to be the engineering design of all of that. So I'd be certainly in favor of that if we were going to do it. But if we're going to use the same data, forget it. We already know what it's going to say. And I do have a question for Counselor, I need to call you Constable, McNulty. When you're referring to Linus Lane, are you referring from Westminster Highway to River Road?
I do both all the way through, and the other side as well.
Okay.
Now past Thompson.
Because realizing Dover Park is there, and, that's 30K right there, and we're going into a construction zone, so it's going to be 30K anyhow. I live right there. And here is the problem here is we've got the construction on River at 2 Road. People are racing down Linus Lane to take the shortcut to get onto Westminster Highway. So, and again, the park dawn to dusk, we know it's 30K already, and that's the majority of that street.
So the motion is to, obviously, we're going to have an update at the next Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting of where that review is going, because it sounds like it might be a little larger scope than what we initially imagined. Mayor Brody, did you want to add something to that?
Well, simply that one of the things that could be brought forward next week, or next meeting, taking Councillor Heed's comments in mind, is to have the terms of reference for that study brought forward. I mean, it could even come in a memo before that, but for discussion at the committee meeting.
Mr. B, do you have anything to add to that?
Not really, Madam Chair, but what I did hear Councillor Heed say is that the normal metrics and things that we use based on other communities and our own community in North America, that may not be adequate. So, we would really want direction from council on what kind of community they would like to see. Like, we're certainly not opposed to lowering speed limits, as we've brought forward lots of places where we'd like to see them lowered. But quite often there's a rationale to do that. We've tried to bring you data today to show you what the data is on the street. Like, clearly there are some that feel that that data is not truly representative of what we would like to see in that location. And so council's really, staff's really just looking for guidance on how to move forward with metrics that we could use to help bring forward these decisions for council.
Yeah, Mayor Brody suggested that you can advise us on the options, and, because we spoke earlier in the meeting about the problem with people doing right-hand turns, and that's a problem for pedestrians. I don't think it's just a speed issue, it's often the way the intersections are and the way that, where the crosswalks are located. We even talked about maybe moving one of the crosswalks. So maybe the best thing to do is let's make a motion to go forward with this, and then staff can advise us on what needs to be added to it in a memo, and then as this review comes forward, I'd like to see something come back next month so that we can see where we're going and how we can move forward, because it's not a simple issue. It's not just about data of how many speeders and how many accidents. It's really complicated because there are so many other factors, and of course, we're all frustrated with the construction on Mineral Boulevard. It feels like it's been going on for 5 years, and that's not good for any of us, and I know staff have been out making sure there's signs up, and when they weren't up, they made sure they were put up the next day. So, yeah, so let's just go over the motion again. It's a referral to staff to review the north-south city center roads for potential speed and other measures, and a study to look at what our options are. Have I got
Madam
that
Chair,
right? Thank you.
just a suggestion that may help to include some language in the motion that staff bring back forward in terms of reference
Yes,
at the next Public Works Transportation Committee
correct.
as a next step.
I missed that. Yeah, Westminster Highway to Granville and the city center roads, and we won't go into all the roads, but yeah, so terms of reference, and that would be very helpful. And options, of course. Thank you very much, Mayor Brody. Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, it's going to be exciting to see what comes back. Our city center is changing every year so significantly, and staying ahead of the traffic and safety issues is certainly in everybody's best interest. Next is the manager's report. I think there's one update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, staff are notified that the City of Richmond was selected as the winner of the Public Sector Leadership Award for the 2025 Embodied Carbon Awards from the Zero Emissions Innovation Center. The award recognizes the city's exemplary efforts in reducing embodied carbon emissions as part of the Richmond City Center strategy. Staff will accept the award tomorrow evening and are preparing a memo with more information, and we'll plan to deliver that to Mayor and Councilor at a future regular council
Wonderful
meeting.
news. We'll have to make more room in the trophy case. All right, thank you very much. Anything else? Otherwise, I'll move for adjournment. All those in favor? We are adjourned.